Thank you for joining us for this episode of That Solo Life, the podcast for PR pros and marketers who work for themselves. People like me, Michelle Kane with Voice Matters, and my ever wonderful co host, Karen Swim of Solo PR Pro. Hi, Karen. Here we are again. It's a good day to podcast.
Hello, good morning, Michelle. Happy Monday.
Happy Monday. Mondays are always so happy. Can you hear the delusion in my voice? Yes, yes. It could be worse. It could be worse. We could be in a cubicle somewhere. So there you go.
That is true. Glad I'm not in a cubicle. Glad I did not have to fight through traffic to commute to an office. Not hating on the people who do that and really actually
Oh,
enjoy it. I
no.
I just happen to be one of those people who does not enjoy it. So I'm glad I didn't have to do something I don't enjoy.
Well, that kind of speaks to what we're going to talk about today, right? We've been seeing some chatter online of
Yes.
people, who work in companies and businesses are trying to find us, trying to
Yes.
find people who who, you know, help people with their communications, with their marketing, with their public relations, kind of a gun for hire, so to speak. And it kind of, Karen, you and I were both talking about this. It kind of made us think, well, don't they know about solos?
Yes.
So apparently not everybody knows about us. So we want to just talk about that, about how it's important to keep that notion in mind, that it's not a given that just because we've, many of us have been at this for quite a while, that people know we exist. And, you know, this particular season in our world is a time to remind ourselves of that, because there may be opportunities out there for us. So we just want to talk about that a little bit, about making sure, checking yourself, check your business, make sure you're putting yourself out there in ways so that you can get noticed.
Yeah, on more than one forum recently, I have seen requests asking, how do you find people that do this thing? How do you find a solo? And does that even exist? Am I, asking for something that does not exist? And so
Right.
it made me think, wow, like these are people that actually work in companies that need the help of a solo PR pro, and they're not sure what we do or how to find us.
Yeah. Wow. Which is, it's kind of exciting in a way, really. I had about 5 seconds of seriously, but it's encouraging
Yes,
to
especially
know.
in these times now where everyone is really trying to figure out their strategic plan for the
Yeah.
year because, we're seeing a lot of, chaos economically, and we're seeing, the news say that there's layoffs. And we all know that we have clients or know of people that had clients who either cut back their services or had to, um, pause their services for the time being. And so people are a little bit nervous, but this makes me so happy because it confirms that there are always people who need what we have to offer. So we have to do a better job of seeking out those companies and making sure that we're connecting into the places that really have a need for people like us.
That's so true. So true. And, the one way you just mentioned is, making sure you're active in these different forums, like shameless plug, Solo PR Pro Premium Members
Yes.
Group, but other, some, whether your region, your trade groups in your region
Yes.
have forums, your local chambers, all of that. Just pop your head up, and honestly, it's not hard to at least repurpose some of your own content or churn out some content, um, boost your own SEO for a change rather than everyone else's. And again, this is one of those episodes where I'm talking to myself more than anyone else. And, LinkedIn is another place
Yeah.
to really, pop your head up and talk about it. Not
Yes.
not just share useful information, but talk about, what is it like to work with a solo? What does that mean? What does that look like? What services can we provide to companies?
I will say also that I love LinkedIn as an option, and these days it's one of the few social media places that I feel like I can tolerate more
Yeah,
than some of the others.
yeah,
And people actually do post their needs on there.
Yes.
Don't miss out on directly networking with people that work in corporations. And I'll tell
So
you
true.
why. Many of us came from corporate America. I still have many friends that are, in high, they're executives, they're CEOs, COOs in corporate America. They never touch social media. They don't have time.
Right.
At work, they're behind a firewall anyway. They can't access all that stuff. And so the majority of my friends that are in these top positions in companies don't do anything on social media. And even those that work in departments, they're really not on social a lot.
Right.
And for those that are active on social, it's after hours and it's usually for personal fun things. Like maybe they're on TikTok or maybe they are on Instagram. So don't assume that being
Yeah.
active on social is putting you in front of the people that can hire you. Now is the time that we have to go back to the tried and true methods that work. It doesn't mean abandon your social strategy, but don't forget about the people that are in those corporate offices that really don't get on social. And so they don't know what you think they know. So that means, as Michelle noted, getting involved in the industries that you served. Are there ways that you can connect directly with that community? Is there a conference that you can go to that would be worth your while where you could meet these people in person? What about organizations like PRSA, where there are a lot of people that work in corporate America that you can connect with directly and make sure that they know who you are and what it is that you offer? So good old-fashioned networking, and not doing it once a year or
Right.
once every 6 months, but making it an ongoing part of your business, finding ways to connect with people directly because they may not be seeing it. And so then you have questions that come up when they do pop their heads up like, hey, do these kind of people exist somewhere?
I'm right here. It's so true. And I had a conversation with someone recently, and again, and I'm not going to recommend this to be particular to a chamber necessarily, but you know, they saying like, well, some of the programs aren't for someone like me, meaning like a
Yes.
solo practitioner. And I flipped that around and said, look, I'm guilty of not attending as many things as I ought to, or could. So flip it around the opposite way. Who's going to be there that you want to meet, that you should meet, that you should be in their ear so they understand? Because I think also a lot of people, they still don't get it. And so I jokingly say I'm like Mad Men without the bar cart and the misogyny. It's like, or the building.
Yeah.
To just kind of help them perceive of, well, what do you do? I'm like, well, marketing and communications and public relations. What do you mean? What do I do? Um, talk about how you've helped others, and just honestly be in the room with people who, if not today or tomorrow, maybe one day may need you, or as has often happened too, it's not who you're speaking to, it's who they know.
Yeah.
But I agree, Karen, good old fashioned networking, meaningful, purposeful networking, because I also understand our time is precious. And, you know, we're certainly not recommending running all around and attending all the things.
Right.
Just meet it out as best you can, as best that works with your schedule. And if nothing else, I always feel better when I force myself to go out and be with people, even though I'd love to just hang out with my laptop.
I will confess that, like so many of us over the years, I've just gotten lazy about that kind of thing. And I find
Mhm.
myself not wanting to get up, dress up, go out and be peopling as much as I used to. But the things that I used to do frequently still work, and the things that I know other people have done. For example, Eric Hansen, who we all know and love, convened people in his own community. So he reached out to people that were in these corporate jobs and he brought them together as a group. So he gave them the opportunity to network with one another, but also became known to them. So I'm pretty sure that,
Yeah.
he's made a lot of inroads in his own community just by reaching out and touching people. And he also, was somebody that was really great about doing coffee dates with people. I
Mhm.
remember, so you can gather people. You can do that either by hosting something and inviting people if you're, that kind of person. Maybe it's simple as, offering to buy somebody a cup of coffee and doing that once a month and reaching out to someone different. Maybe it's reaching in and saying, hey, I'm doing a little research. Maybe you want to do your own little data study and get some questions answered, and you reach out to people and meet with them around a specific
Love
question
that.
that you're trying to
Mhm.
answer. Maybe it's hosting a workshop and, making it a free workshop where you invite the people that you want to meet and share something of your expertise with them that's relevant and timely in these times right now. So, we do have to, I push the Zoom lever a lot, and because I'm tired, and I'm sure many of you are too. But I think what I'm encouraging us all to do is we got to see people and talk to them face to face. It really does make a difference.
It does. I mean, coming from what am I? I think I'm an extroverted introvert.
Yes.
You do. And I mean, even if it's as small as heading out for a cup of coffee in the morning, you never know who you're going to bump into. And
Yes.
with hosting things for people that do want to come out, because I know everyone's so busy, they do also tend to love the Zoom because it's like, ugh, I don't have to be anywhere by a certain time. But in your communities, there are wonderful places that are very cost effective to host events. There's a couple of coffee shops near me that have little spaces. Your library has community rooms that you can either get for free or for next to nothing. So it's out there. I mean, even something as silly as, I tried this a couple of times. I didn't get any walk-ups, but I would, share that I'm holding office hours for 2 hours. I'm going to be at this place, just having a cup of coffee, doing some work. And hey, if you want to come and talk shop, stop by. Just we're creative people. We can
We
be
are.
creative with it and make it fun for you. That
Yeah.
way you'll be more likely to stick to it.
I mean, and I think you can bring fun into that element.
Oh,
So,
yeah.
I'm headed out this week to buy knitting needles and yarn. So I could easily like reach out and say, hey, I'm learning to knit and I'm in PR. Is there anybody in communications that would, like to join me at such and such a place and like share your tips?
I
Or
love it.
book club. I did a book club for a while with journalists, and that was great. It was a great time of bonding and getting to know each other in a completely different way. There was a young woman, and I don't remember her name, but I probably wouldn't share it. But she was moving to a new town, and she wasn't in PR, but she had just put it out there on, I think it was Threads, like, hey, I'm moving to a new town. And she talked about the types of women that she'd love to meet. Like 100 people showed up just
Well,
to be friends. And so
yeah.
don't underestimate the power of really touching people and being open. And, I know if you're an introvert or, I also am an extroverted introvert, that it can be a little bit of a burden, but it's all worth it. And again, we need to be the marketing for this profession, and we need to let people know that not only do we exist, but we're available to do work, and we are an excellent resource to have for any company. I mean, we can really help move the needle forward. And now when people are looking for tapping into expertise and not having to train people and not having to have that permanent on staff extension, we are such a wonderful addition to internal teams.
So, so true. And I agree. I think just as a people, we are craving community more than ever. So I think if you do step out and try these things, don't be surprised when it succeeds, because we need each other, and we need to hear each other's stories and learn how we can help each other. So we hope this has been an inspiring time for you. I know I've inspired myself. Thank you, Karen. You've inspired me too.
I'm
But
inspired too. Thank you, Michelle.
so we hope you got something out of this. If you did, please share this episode around. We would love that. That would be just the biggest thing you could do for us. And do hit us up at soloprpro.com with questions or topic ideas. Tell us what you want to hear. And until next time, thanks for listening.